Chess, nonsense, and analysis. Uh, Good morning. Today we will be looking more at chess, actually. I was very impressed by this game. This game, it's just finished from the South African Junior Chess Championships, and this is the under 14 section. And Rafael Felix played against Kelvin Jacobs, and yeah, a very nice, impressive game. And I certainly think that for our juniors, this is the way forward. A game that is that where one can immediately tell, that the one player is theoretically prepared, and not only theoretically prepared, like, repeating the lines like a parrot, but that they actually understand the ideas behind a setup. And yeah, that is certainly the way to go. So yeah, congratulations to both players, but specifically to Rafael Felix for a nice theoretical game. I would say that this game was won at home, and that is sometimes what you want to see. It's part of the technique, ability to win a game, you know, uh, at home, having understood the Persian better, having studied the Persian better. Anyway, let's jump into it. So it's a Sicilian, and it's a what is this now called? Scheveningen, yeah. But this setup is under a cloud. And if one realizes how, in terms of move orders, right, today, how many players will reach it, they will reach it maybe via the night of, that means starting first with A6, playing first D6, D4, context pawn, and then, play A6 first, and then once white shows us what they will choose, only then to then say, okay, for an example, just make an example, let's say white plays bishop E2 or bishop E3, then to say, okay, I'm going to go for a Scheveningen. And the reason for this is that the Keres attack has been doing very well recently, especially with the rise of strong engines. It's almost because the engines, they are showing at the moment that if you give a lot of space very quickly, you have to thread carefully. Yeah. So anyway, this setup was played. I mean, it was all the rage, no? I mean, there was one World Championship match between Karpov against Kasparov, where Kasparov played this and Karpov played G4, and the game was still drawn then. But now, it's a different story. No, G4 is played. What is the idea of G4? Let's start there. Well, the idea of G4 is not necessarily to checkmate the king, but more than anything, it's based on structure. No, if you look at the center, black has got 2 pawns in the center, which means that black has the possibility to transform the center to be mobile, and thus allowing the rest of their pieces to get into the game. So black could play, I'm not saying immediately, but E5, D5, E5 first, knight moves away, boom, D5 later on, or black plays D5 and so on. So when you play G4, you are taking away these possibilities from black because you want to play G5. And once you play G5, then there are problems that black will have, because the knight is no longer going to be supporting the center. An immediate D5, unfortunately, does not work because there are patterns. Now the king is open. White starts first with bishop B5 check, you see. And then, unfortunately, you have to block. And then when you block, you don't have as much control anymore, and you are going to be left with having a weak pawn on D5 as black. So anyway, H6 is the main move that is played, and then Rafael Felix plays for G1. This is a very interesting choice. In today's world, H4 is more the rage right now to start with h4 directly. But okay, rook g1 is also one of the moves that are up there in terms of moves that give pressure. Okay, a good move. And now black chooses. There are many moves to be played here, starting with a6 and so on, yeah. But black plays knight c6. To me, I think that a6 is much more careful because, as I say, the fact that this bishop b5 check can happen does play an important part in this particular variation, because anytime you're hitting in the center, they hit you there with bishop b5 check, yeah. Anyway, knight c6 is perfectly playable as well. Bishop e3, and now Kelvin Jacobs immediately hit in the center with d5. Risky decision, and certainly theoretically under it loud. Maybe bishop d7 is a little bit more careful, yeah. And so my idea now is that, okay, possibly I can play d5 now, yeah, because bishop d7, I've taken away this bishop b5 idea. And if white plays h4, then play h5. Now g5 is not great because I can possibly, can I play knight g4? Maybe even. I should be in time. And if they take on h5, I will take with my knight, right? And now notice I would have stopped the attack, and then I can start thinking about where to put the king. I will possibly castle long then as black play moves like a6, queen c7, and castle long, or indeed queen a5 maybe, and then castle long. Something like this should be. Wait a second, queen a5, rook g5. Yeah, you should be careful. But generally, this position is black should be fine. Black is not going to be blasted away from the board immediately. d5, very dangerous. But now, so theoretically speaking, Kelvin Jacobs, we can now sort of read between the lines and say, okay, look, whatever Kelvin Jacobs has prepared, it has not come off, right? So his preparation somewhere, he didn't maybe expect this line or things like this, but now it's a very dangerous position. That actually has been known for a while. Bishop b5 is an excellent move. Theoretically, that is the move that is recommended. Bishop d7, it takes d5, queen e2. Yes, so very fast and very theoretically played by Rafael Felix. Beautiful to see. Understands the position, because remember, this is not like just remembering, because there are so many lines that one has to go has to prepare. Anyway, queen e2, setting up a pattern. And what is interesting is that there was a game that was played here in 1967 where in two formerly Yugoslavian GMs then, when it was still Yugoslavia, in 1967, and between Matulovic against Bukic, and Bukic played bishop b4. And actually, this bishop b4 was analyzed in Chess Informant. So in those days, there used to be a publication that came out. First, it was twice in a year, and then later on, it was 3 times in a year. It was sort of a book where the top players would send their analysis, and they would write the analysis, and it would be appreciated. Everyone was waiting for it. This was the age before powerful engines. So what the strong players were thinking about a certain position was very important. So anyway, in one of the informants, when bishop b4 was played, it was given a double exclamation mark, because it was such a fantastic idea, in a sense that, look at how brave the idea is, just leaving the king open. And the idea is that, okay, the game was knight takes c6, bishop takes c6. This was so spectacular idea, really, by black. What is the idea? Okay, in the game, Matulovic castled long. But what is if I play bishop c5 check, right? It looks very logical. I play bishop c5 check and then I pick up the bishop. But this is the point. King d7. What an idea. Beautiful. Now I'm threatening rook e8. And I'm going to, for example, if you play bishop takes b4, of course I would play rook e8, right? And I pick up your queen. And otherwise, black is better than in this position. But, okay, so bishop c5 is not to be played. Castles long was played. And then bishop takes c3 was played. What is interesting is that this is one of the games that put this particular thing out of business for a while for white. Because the game went like this. Bishop b4 check. This was the game, right? And then knight e4, bishop takes c3 and castles. This was the game that Matulovic played against Bukic. Although Matulovic won the game, but it was clear that Bukic was better. Black is better in this position. White's attack has not started, and black has got threats. You have to take on c3, the bishop, the rook is coming to c8, the queen will come to a5. Black is much faster than white is. However, which is very interesting though now, is that here the engine recommends b takes c3 as a very powerful improvement. No, instead of bishop d4 check, just take on c3. And the idea, of course, is that if castles, then g5, and it's all over. Yeah, as we will see in the main game, in the game that happened in the junior championships between Rafael Felix and Kevin Jacobs. That g5, and because you cannot castle. Well, you can if you're brave, but whenever you castle with the pawn on h6, we call this a hook, because you allow the opponent to, the whole attack is going to be based on that hook. I'll just play g5 and just keep bringing the pieces out. So yeah, b takes c3. But if one looks at it, the so king f8 must be played, and if you look at it, white is of course just much better in this position. Yeah, two bishops, control of the center. This is just a temporary inconvenience, but black cannot do much because black also doesn't have a plus-square bishop. This should be fine. So anyway, the variation is indeed under a cloud. But in the game, bishop e7 was played in our game now. Then Rafael Felix castles long. And now Kevin Jacobs could not solve the problems in the position. And there's a lot of problems. It says, so, this is, that is the thing. It's just possibly here already lost the position. He castled. And now we look at it from Rafael Felix's point of view, because he plays this so beautifully now. He plays g5, very logical. It takes with the rook. Beautiful move. Knight e4, it takes, knight takes e4. And definitely he has cut. Okay, in this position, I think it starts to dawn on Kelvin Jacobs that d takes e4. He may have wanted to play d takes e4 before, but unfortunately, d takes e4 runs into a mating attack. Just rook takes g7. This is like in Paul Morphy style, because all these pieces that black has, they are just spectators, aren't they? Yeah, they're just spectators. The biggest piece are just spectators. They're just watching. So rook takes g7, king takes g7, rook g1 check. If you go to the h file, you get checkmated immediately. And we play king f6, I just play queen h5. And it's done. Mating threats everywhere, and black is just completely crushed. So in the game, after knight takes e4, he plays bishop takes g5, but okay, already it's difficult. Knight takes g5, queen h5 is threatened. He plays f6, what else? Knight e6, now the exchange is going. Rook takes d5, bishop c4, nicely spotted, because setting up a pattern, no? There's going to be a discovered check. Played queen a1, king d2. I think in the game he actually played bishop e6, knight takes e6, and then resigned. Yeah, a very nice game. So Kevin Jacobs has to, such a loss, of course, emotionally is difficult to take, but in terms of just progress, this might be the best thing that happens to him because he will realize that he lost this game at home. Yeah, he lost purely because he was out prepared. But of course, this is not an attack on Rafael Felix. Rafael Felix, for his part, he did his homework and he understood the game. I mean, the preparation completely, and it's the thing to do. If you are able to get a point at home, because you are working hard, why not, right? But then for Kevin Jacobs, it's the moment of truth. The question is he now going to say, okay, you know what? I learned a tough lesson. This is never ever going to happen again. I'm going to now go wild or go home. Either I work very hard on my chess and I prepare properly and I make sure that I never lose theoretically again. Because guess what, guys? The issue is this, why this is interesting to me is because I feel that Rafael Felix is doing it the right way. And I'm happy that his hard work got rewarded. And he should work even harder. Because you see, when our juniors go out there and play in the World Youth, I always say this, it sounds like one is attacking, but it is the truth. The only way that South Africans in these junior events, in the World Youth, the only way that they score is if they play other South Africans or if they play other competitors from Africa as well, right? So we can only score against Africans, you know, and we normally play against each other there, you know, in an 11-round event around round 8, almost by the door. So yeah, very good to see, and just the way it should happen. So brilliant. And this is how chess masters play. And I am happy that we see Rafael Felix on his way. Well done to him and good luck further on in your career, young man. With that, I say checkmate.